Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for taking time on a Thursday afternoon to join us in this exciting panel discussion with two senior pros in the industry. So the panel will be moderated by me and our CEO, Ashish Tandon. So before we get started on the panel discussion, um, a few words about Indusface. So Indusface is in the business of protecting applications. We are almost about 200 employees, have 5 offices and 5,000 customers across 95 countries. We are fast growing, profitable, and backed by institutional investors. So we have three primary product lines. One is in application protection. So the solution is called Web Application and API Protection as per Gartner. So this includes WAF, DDoS and bot protection, API security, and so on. The second pillar is our application assessment suite, where we have a DAST scanner and malware scanning and so on, where we detect vulnerabilities across website, API, and mobile apps. The third is SSL certificates, where we are the master distributor of Entrust here in India. Now, coming to compliance and certification. So all the major compliances that you will need, we have them, including ISO 27001, SOC 2, PCI DSS, GDPR for those of you who have customers in the EU. And finally, all the penetration testing that is done by our experts is done by certified pen testers from Certain. Over the years, we've had many recognitions. One that we are very proud of is the Gartner Peer Insights Customer Choice Badge, where for 2 years in a row, we have been rated as the customer choice on the top right. Out of the 10 plus or the 10 vendors there, we are in the top right. Now, we discussed this briefly before. As we said, we have about 5,000 customers in 95 plus countries. Now, this is a snapshot of our customers. Two of these customers in the insurance industry vertical are with us today. Manoj from Future Generali and Kiran from Aegon Life. Now, this is just a representative sample. No matter what the industry you're in, we have you covered, and we have case studies and success stories across the board. That said, without further ado, let me introduce our speakers today. Ashish Tandon, who is the founder and CEO of Indusface. He's a cricketer turned entrepreneur. So he's been in the business of application security for more than 2 decades now. And Kiran Belsekar, who is an industry veteran, who is the EVP, CISO and IT governance at Aegon Life. So he's a regular face that you see in all the industry events. And finally, we have Manoj, who is the CISO of Future Generali. And like Kiran, you must have seen him in many of the industry conferences that you attend to. That said, over to you, Ashish, for moderating the panel.
Thank you, Fani. Firstly, let me welcome both the guests and my friends, Kiran and Manoj. Thank you so much, guys, for taking time out. I'm really looking forward to this conversation with you all and understanding, and I think getting advantage from your experience, and getting our viewers get advantage from your experience in how you guys are managing your security posture and keeping your digital assets secure. Before I start, let me kind of set the context and let's understand the gravity of what the problem we are talking about, right? In today's day and age, if any business which does not have a digital presence, I don't think it really exists as a business, right? I mean, and this is not just limited to banks or insurance companies or government bodies. I think it is even become relevant for our corner restaurant or a corner coffee shop, especially after COVID. I mean, we wanted to order food, and these guys overnight had to have a digital presence to figure out, how do you place orders and get your food delivered to you all, or get a coffee done. So it has really accelerated. So now it's like a digital, it's table stakes. If you're not digital, you're not a business of any relevance, right? So now, given that this has been established, now what is the digital presence for a business, right? In my terms, in terms of my view, is either you have a website or an application, and that application could be a mobile app or now APIs, right? Now, because it's a time of collaboration, working with various organizations, various banks, it's a lot of collaboration happening. So now these are the three aspects which you use to interact with your customers or partners or employees these days, and to make sure your digital presence is accurate and available. Having said that, now the other mechanisms come into picture is, if your digital helps make it convenient, makes it easier for people to use, it's more cost effective, and all of this put together. But however, it has to be done over internet, right? Now, internet is the only mechanism which can be used to kind of connect to these applications, and internet, as we all know, is open to the world. Any or everybody, including my mom, who's 75, and I think a kid who's 3 years old also now uses the internet to kind of do whatever stuff, right? So it's open to the world. And while this is open to the world, we would expect that only our customers, our employees, our friends interact with each other, but that is, in reality, it is not true. There are adversaries, or in our common lingo, which we call them, are hackers, who are also available to kind of exploit these digital assets of their businesses. And I think I categorize them into three main reasons or main objectives for these hackers to, what do they really get out of hacking? One is, of course, commercial gain. These days, just not commercial gain in getting credit card numbers, but they now like to get social security numbers, Aadhaar cards, databases, etc., etc. The second aspect is disruption of a business. They understand this digital asset of is the business now. How do they bring them down and make it unavailable? And finally, how do they tarnish your brand or brand equity so that your stocks are down next day, and it kind of affects your business in a big way and all of that stuff, right? Now, while we understand the motive and what the mechanism is done, we actually come out with a quarterly report. As Funny mentioned, we have thousands of customers across various parts of the world, and based on the information and based on the data we see on our platform, we have kind of identified what are the 4 areas which we kind of bucketed them in 4 areas and said, which are the 4 areas which these adversaries really double down on and take advantage, right? And I'm going to briefly talk about that. And all the figures and all the aspects are basically used based on our quarterly report and based on real data. So the first aspect we found was, with businesses like insurance companies or large businesses, they have now digital assets which are spread, right? They will have a combination of websites, mobile apps, APIs, etc., and on the cloud. Some are on-prem, various spread. So one of the biggest things we are finding, and Gartner is confirming that only less than a percentage point, 1% of customers really are in control and identify all their digital assets on the internet. And this is a startling number. And we were able to corroborate that with the information we got. And when we saw that almost 30% of the malicious attacks which happened on our platform were on these shadow assets, or assets which are either are not built by the customer, or even if it is built by the customer has the security team or the internet or the security team has no idea who's building them, how they have come out, right? So discovering and understanding what your assets are spread on the internet is also becoming a huge problem, We'll kind of find out more when we talk to our panel. The second area we are finding is, because of the pressure of releasing newer features, staying up to speed with your competitors in terms of putting things out on your digital assets, integrating with third-party plugins, because of third-party aspects which have to be integrated, and on top of it we have 0 days, right? Based on all these aspects, one of the things we are finding from our platform is our customers are struggling to patch these vulnerabilities or close these vulnerabilities which a hacker can exploit. And the figure is startling. It's almost for about 200 plus days at an average, we are seeing that critical vulnerabilities are not getting patched. This is it's a staggering number, and can have a major implication and can really help these adversaries who are trying to take advantage of either hacking your website or whatever aspects I mentioned about. The third area we are seeing is essentially figuring out mechanisms to bring your business down. Meaning, when I say business, means either your website or a mobile or an API. I consider your digital business down. They're trying to figure out mechanisms and using techniques, whether it is distributed denial of service attacks or bot attacks, to kind of bring your infrastructure down or kind of bring your digital business down. And again, there are staggering numbers. We are seeing them as fastest growing. Almost 40% of our sites had a DDoS attack in the last quarter. And the bot attack number was even more staggering. Almost 80% of them had bot attacks, right? So this is very, very staggering, and this is very concerning, right? If you're not on the top of the game, you might be ending up on the wrong side of the game, right? And all this is really not helping, and all of us currently are very enamored by LLM and chat GPT and all of these techniques which are coming in. While they are very, very helpful for consumers and individual users, having said that, the adversaries also have the advantage of using them, right? And they are trying to work out and curate attacks at scale and at speed. So we have another one, and both of our friends are laughing, but they are actually figuring out how do we get hold of these, how do we kind of counter these aspects which are now becoming like table stake, new generation. This is what the world is, but yeah. So those are another aspect. And then on top of it, all the security practitioners are under tremendous stress, or I wouldn't say stress, but I have to comply, right? And they are now, whether if they're insurance, they have to make sure that their compliance body IDA is happy. Whether it's a bank, it's RBI, and then on top of it, you're expecting if you're accepting credit cards, there's PCI. It's never ending, right? It just keeps compliance, and then on top of it, now we have another announcement where our government has cleared the personal data protection bill, and that adds to complexity, and there are serious penalties if my friends don't, and CISOs and security practitioners do not meet those, right? So given all of these aspects, I think it's going to be interesting that while these are realities, how are two of the best CISOs in the industry countering this and making sure that their digital assets, and they are large companies, right? They're large global conglomerates, whether it is Aegon Life or future Generali, how are they making sure that they remain ahead of the game and are on top of it? So let me open this up. Let me start with Kiran. Kiran, while I gave you all the findings we had from our own platform, I'm sure the viewers would love to kind of get a sense from you in terms of how what are the key challenges you are facing as CISO, and how are you trying to make sure that you mitigate all of these and try to remain ahead of the curve.
Yeah, hi Ashish. Just wanted to check if I'm audible.
Yep.
First of all, thanks, Funny, for that wonderful introduction, and also sharing something about Ashish. While I was not sure, while I see India hitting sixes and fours on the cricket field, and Ashish is over here with us moderating this panel. So it's lovely to know, Ashish, about your passion. Yeah, so I think coming to your question on the challenges perspective, I think I'm no different than the other CISOs or the InfoSec professionals. If you see, due to this democratization of technology, which we have been seeing, so with this, the decentralization, the administration has becoming a very large issue to be looked at. If you look at multiple solutions, because there is not going to be a single a silver bullet which will really address and solve all these security issues. You talk about endpoint security, you talk about your server security, your cloud security, and cloud security is still a very larger family in itself. But even if you talk about the all workloads, the way containerization, the serverless functions, the RDS and the databases has been really evolved. So I think that is becoming one of a very important challenge for us, because all these incidents, while I'm talking, there is no single visibility, while SIEM and the SOC, which is there, which is all ingesting all these logs. But end of the day, it is also talking about how do I get and give those values back to the business. What is the value as a CISO function we are generating this thing. So that becomes my second challenge for that in terms of from the reporting and a management perspective, because various tools happens out to be a skill issue, this thing resulting in support issues for that matter as well. So even if I heard you talking about Gen AI, how is it helping and improving the productivity perspective, but it also equally important to be trained to give the right prompt to ensure that you leverage the effectiveness out of it. So skill sets, reporting and management happens out to be a third issue, a second issue, and the third is more on the remediation. If you look at the alert fatigues which it is causing from these various ecosystem, I think remediation is one of the important aspects, because you also touch upon on the time it takes to patch the vulnerabilities or it is remaining undetected. I think that is also something which is remediation is needs to be quicker for that matter. And other is, which I've already spoken about, the digital transformation, the evolution of the microservices, cloud native architecture. I think that is also becoming one. Why I say it's one of the challenge, because the security systems is still not evolving. It is still catching up to the hyperscalers, because if you every day I see there are new technologies being launched, there are new services which the hyperscalers are launching. But if you really look at from a security space perspective, they are just doing a catching up game with those new transformation perspective or an innovation perspective. So these are the couple of challenges which I have.
Thanks, Kiran. Superb. I couldn't agree more. And I think while security continues to remain traditional, the form factors around us are changing so rapidly. So it's just about how do you catch up. Manoj, would love to get your perspective as well. Given you're such a veteran and have always been involved with with being digital first and making sure your digital assets are secure. Do you want to add to whatever Kiran mentioned, or your perspective on this? Would love to get it.
Yeah, thanks, Ashish and Funny, for the wonderful session. And I completely agree with Kiran. Well said. I would like to add a couple of things in addition to what Kiran has just mentioned. I think being a CISO, our key insights are being flexible, the collaboration with business, and the communication. I mean, right side of communication, the business and the organizations are going agile, and nobody has time. Just I'll give you an example that an application is developed, and the commitment is to go live within 15 days. And as per, regulator, I have to perform VAPT, SaaS test, and, I come up with, a long list, cross-site XSS, SQL injection and all. Definitely, business and IT is going to look after that, and they will definitely remediate. It's only a matter of time. So being a CISO, I must have, flexibility, resilience, and, well balance between the convenience and security to support my business, not become, a showstopper. So if I put on a solution of WAF, then those things are internal to my organization where I have another controls. And I'm, very comfortable that from external world, I'm very safe for the identified loopholes. So that's a prospect which I wanted to add. And earlier it was, volumetric DDoS attacks, which were taken care by ISPs and all. So it has also, turned into very sophisticated with onion routes and all. So anti-DDoS on application is something which is very important to ensure the availability of application for the consumers and the users. And third, we used to see a lot of movie like, it started from Jurassic Park, and then, subsequently a lot of movie we went through. So what we learned that if I'm fighting, I must know with whom I'm fighting, and I must have similar level of, competency and skills. It's a time of generative and predictive AI. I can't have, multiple people sitting and, responding to one attack. So those kind of AIs must be incorporated in solution to ensure I have right, skills and capability to fight with. So that's something which is very important. And last but not least, I have very limited set of people, and technology is evolving every day. I cannot, replace people. So something called full managed services is very important. So if I have selected a partner, I must be, assured that the solution is taking care of people, processes, and technology. So these things, become a challenge for CISOs, and I'm happy, to say that up to maximum level, we feel very comfortable.
Super. I think this is great. I'm almost, I was almost thinking when Kiran and Manoj were talking that, while I have to refrain from this has to be an extremely neutral session, and I need to make sure that I get all the aspects out. But I know Funny is feeling very happy that it looks like you guys almost talked about that the Indusface platform kind of does all of this and it helps you. So I'm glad that these are all connecting, and that is exactly how, honestly speaking, the entire platform has always been built, or it's only built on based on what security practitioners,
5 minutes, sir.
What security practitioners like you all think should be are important. So also now the other aspect which I would love to kind of get your view is I briefly spoke about discovery, right? I spoke about that currently Gartner says that less than 1% of the companies really know where their assets are or where the digital assets are, given that it's become very compounded, cloud, private cloud, public cloud, etc., using various collaborations, APIs, etc. Do you all see that as a challenge in your organization as well? Given now that APIs are built by even your HR team or even your marketing team has integrations done, right? Because that's the way, it's how easy it and majority of times I'm finding is my secure CISO friends or CIO friends coming up and saying we really don't even know where all our digital assets are. Do you see that as a growing concern as you guys are becoming larger and using more and more collaboration mechanisms?
Well,
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Manoj.
Yeah. So there was a question: what is the maturity of asset management of any organization? The right answer is when I have full visibility on shadow IT. Okay, so that's one thing. So how to identify shadow IT? And number two, nowadays, because of agility, business, they are also, doing a lot of partnership with other organization to get the things delivered on time. So within the organization, the trend has turned into distributed, solution acquisition. And so there are two aspects of it. Number one, there has to be some technical control to ensure whatever is, related to my organization, I must have identification to that. And that technical control has further two aspects. One is, defensive, one is offensive. So one has to have, red teaming, brand monitoring and all to take care of those things from offensive point of view, and of course, take down services as well. And from defensive point of view, the right application layer protection, because anyway, I may have another layer of control like encryption or anonymization on the database layer or application server layer. But when it is available on public network, it has to have some kind of filter to ensure the evil intentions are, not creating damage to our organization. And from process point of view, a lot of education and awareness is required, because nowadays it's no more people, process and technology. It's more or less about psychology as well. We get a lot of calls. They need a lot of information. I'm calling from here, what you use and all. So education and awareness is the last thing, which is very, very important. So we must be very collaborative with our business team. The admin way is not going to help us out. It's like security function is like, a packet of sugar. When a coffee cup comes, I have to mix with sugar to enhance the taste. Right. So the collaboration, education, awareness, flexible approach. So this is how, I would like to respond to this.
Excellent. I think I would fully agree. I said it's not just so what I'm hearing from it's just a technology. It's not just using a discovery tool to kind of traverse the internet and show you what all assets you have. There are a lot of other aspects involved as well to make it happen. Kiran, would you agree with what Manoj said, or would you like to add?
Yeah, absolutely. I think outside in is one perspective of it. Because one thing is very clear now, and it's that for all the enterprises, more than 50% of the applications and data are not sitting in your data set. They are not sitting in your perimeter. Because if you see, as you talk about, it is very easy for the business functions, because you talk about any business functions. You talk about financials is easily available on the cloud. You talk about SAP, you talk about Microsoft, you talk about Oracles of that form, you talk about HRMS for that matter. You talk about any ecosystem application, it is all available on SaaS, and it is quite easy for the business functions to go and adopt it and onboard it. When they come to, even for that matter, that's where your authentications and authorizations are also getting outside. They are no more into your single source of truth with your Active Directory as well. So I think that's very important aspect of it. So that's where the TPRM programs, with third-party risk management program, also comes into picture, which we need to evolve over a period of time in terms of ensuring that while you're onboarding this third parties, during the engagement and while you're offboarding them, you ensure that at most security controls are being taken care of while the entire life cycle is being part of. I think these are the things I wish to add more from the discovery or more from the third-party applications.
Thanks a lot. Fantastic. One more thing you guys, both of you mentioned was, it is a fact that, there will be vulnerabilities. It is a fact that it is going to take some time to fix it. And I think Manoj rightly pointed out that, you all have to enable the business and not be blockers, right? So, and for that, while vulnerabilities and while newer applications, new features are a reality, you have to help the business, and hence you have to figure out mechanisms where while the business continues to add features and they have vulnerabilities, you have mechanisms like WAF or application protection mechanism to kind of make sure that they're shielded and hackers don't exploit it. But the other important point which I kind of found out was fatigue, and what I'm finding out, and I think one of the things I'm hearing continuously is about alert fatigue, meaning, like for example, you have 100 applications and, you're getting vulnerability feedback on all of them. And one of the things I'm hearing is that in order to combat them more and more, the requirement is, guys, these are my 4 or 5 or 7 or 8 or 10 critical applications. Anything happens here, give me alerts, give me the other one. Do you think that categorization is the right way to, or will that help you overcome some of the fatigue, or you think that all the applications are important and all of them should be treated as one? Especially, you also said, right, you have scarcity of resources and stuff like that. So I would love to get that view as well. Kiran, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I think it is very important that, so there is an exercise we at Aegon Life do, which is the business impact analysis exercise, BIA, which we call it, to ensure that what are the technology resources we use, how critical they are, how critical, the criticality of them, even from the restoration perspective as well. So we do those exercises to ensure that we discover them, reaching out to all the business functions for that matter. But the another aspect also which also comes out is that the alert fatigue can indeed hinder the prioritization of patching among development teams for that matter. So there are a couple of steps or strategies to combat the issue, to ensure that patching is given the priority it requires, like prioritizing the alerts. So utilize the systems that categorize and prioritize the alerts based on their severity and relevance perspective. The other aspect also we look at is automating the patch management for that matter. So employing an automated patch management, which really helps to reduce the manual effort which is required and ensure that the patches are also applied in a timely manner. Also consolidate and correlate alerts. There were days when the CISO function used to do the scanning in one tool, and the remediation team, the IT ops team, used to remediate them in the other tool, and there used to be a disconnect between the both teams. Both were looking at different dashboards altogether for that. I think, but at Aegon Life, we try to have a single pane of glass wherever we look at, whether it is from the cloud security or the frontline asset security perspective, where we talk about the web application scanners or the WAF for that matter, so that the scanning and remediation is happening within those same platform itself, rather than looking out for a point products. The same. Also, the other aspect, educating the teams, educating the development teams on the importance of patching, maintaining the system security and compliance, and also obviously not everything could be patched on day one. The moment the patch is released, you also need a time to do that testing, because end of the day, you also need to put that back into the deployment, because the patching should not end up in disrupting the availability or the business operations. So I think the new concept of utilizing the virtual patching is also an equally important aspect as well. And thanks for that platform which we use, from the scanning for the remediation and also from a virtual patching perspective, which also helps as a proactive measure to provide the immediate protection while the necessary patches are being tested and deployed perspective. And finally, the incident management process, don't underestimate that. I think that is also an equally important process which would manage the incident, even in case there are all of these measures been taken care. I think that is an important process as well.
Thanks, Kiran. Manoj, I have a new age question for you. And this is something which I was in the US last 3-4 weeks, trying to kind of meet a lot of practitioners there. And one aspect wherever I go, and I'm sure this is happening with you, and I'm sure happening with Kiran as well, is this elephant in the room, which Funny puts it, right? It's the large language models, Chat GPT, etc., etc. And one of the aspects which has come out, and which was a very interesting discussion, which came, which came out, and I didn't think about them, is a lot of large enterprises have started using these technology even for coding. and for speed, for doing stuff. And before I kind of reveal what I found, I would love to. What do you guys use? Do you all think that do you think the large language models or these ChatGPT or AI, these kind of tools are something which you all are embracing? And if yes, are you all, which are the areas you are looking at? And do you see that as a boon or a bane?
Well, so every coin has two sides. If we take it as, in positive manner, it's definitely going to help us out. And there are some, criminal-minded people, the hackers, who are taking advantage, to misutilize the good thing. When we go and purchase the medicine, the name of shop is chemist and druggist. So it's nothing but a kind of drug in, controlled manner. And on the other hand, we find some kind of, rape parties and all, which is going misutilizing those medicines. So it's similarly, nothing new. But one thing is very sure, that being a CISO, I must adapt with the change, because those who create change are leaders. Those who adopt changes at right time are, are, successful, and those who are reluctant to change are surviving. So this, this we don't have in fact choice, because if in case some hacker is using the ChatGPT auto coding to attack on my server, my surface, then I must have the similar kind of mechanism to stop and protect the information asset of my organization. Not only that, in addition to that, we must also have efficient operation and effective governance. The right example is recent Hamas and Israel war. There were a lot of system to protect, but what exactly happened? Some paragliders, and they have destroyed a lot of things within Israel. The entire system failed. So that's why I have taken the right example of efficient operations and effective governance. Operation includes the technical solutions, the persons who are supporting us to enable the right kind of patching or coding to bridge the gaps. And so one of the right example which I would like to share here is, in 2017 there was a attack called WannaCry, ransomware attack. It happened somewhere on the 17th or 18th of May 2027, 27, yeah. And after that, a lot of solutions come into market, anti-ransomware. But what was the right fix? The fix was to deploy the patch called MS 010 17. And that patch was released by Microsoft in the month of March. I mean, 2 months back of the attack. And every organization has a mechanism to go through the dashboard of patching. Right. What kind of effective governance was there? I mean, there were a lot of impact which has happened. Similarly, we must utilize these kind of solutions proactively to automate a lot of things. Like a lot of IPs are coming. I can integrate these things to take some intelligence and block those things. Maybe some IPs are of our business use. So immediately a kind of analysis in firewall. Okay, in the last 3 months a lot of traffic happened, so don't block it. So similarly, I mean, a lot of positive things can be done, and we should take it positively, I think.
Great. And Kiran, what is your views? You think are you guys using LLM as part of your process, as part of your organizational construct? Have you started embracing it, or you're still conscious, or?
Sorry, I was on mute. So I think yes, I think every organization, and specifically if you look at from an insurance perspective, it is highly looking at using this models, because it's if you look at from an insurance perspective, it's very heavy on an human centric assisted way of doing business. So there are many ways, many use cases. If you look at from an insurance-based perspective, where it really helps in terms of solving the problems, whether it comes from the customer interactions, whether it comes from the complex business business processes for that matter, or products for that matter. How do you get it and simplify it to the end consumer perspective? How do we solve and there is big opportunities in terms of from an underwriting perspective, claims perspective. There are opportunities out over here, and we are exploring some of them. Nothing in production yet, but yes, we do are exploring. And no guess to say is in terms of how the end users. I'm sure those, because now it is all embedded into your browser. So there is nothing which a CISO function can stop employees from browsing. It is all embedded now. For that matter, if you look at Binge, for that matter, you could stop ChatGPT, but you can't stop really a Bing for that. So it is very important that that's what I was talking about. That security is becoming a catching up game when it comes to the innovation perspective. That's where we really need to take a speed on it.
Oh, one interesting thing what I did. So people are using ChatGPT and we can't stop it. So I personally what I did with help of my DLP solution, I integrated and I have clear insight who is doing what, who is searching what on ChatGPT.
Yeah, you have to become creative. Absolutely. Another aspect which is now, I think is becoming more and more relevant is use of APIs, right? If you talk about a few years back, APIs were still in fancy, but now I think APIs are table stakes. With, for example, as insurance, you need a payment gateway, you need a bank integrated with the bank, you have back-end underwriters, you have whatever, right? I mean, it's and working with various aspects. How do you and with so much happening, with so much of integration with so many departments and so many areas, do you think that the security function is in control, or you think this is an area where you guys are a little bit taken off guard and trying to figure out how do you make sure that every API which is integrated within your organization or with your organization, you're on top. How do you see that API function affecting your role or your function? Kiran, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So API security is a linchpin of our interconnected digital world. This thing. So, and it's crucial to safeguard these gateway of our data and services perspective. But as we delve into the multi-faceted domain of API security, there are three fundamental pillars which we really need to address and which we really working upon. One is security, then is your authentication and authorization, and then the mitigation techniques perspective. To talk about from a security perspective, I think I might get into the technical aspects of it. If you look at ensuring that all data which we ensure that is transmitted between the client and server needs to be unencrypted for that matter to avoid the eavesdropping. The other aspect is also having a WAP, which is a web application and API protection platform for that matter, to ensure that the common web vulnerabilities get protected. If you really look at one of the incident in which Equifax breach, if you have seen in 2017, approximately 143 million individuals were exposed due to the vulnerable API. And that was the incident which underscored the importance of the security measures, such as the input validation and how do we get the encryption also into all the APIs which are there. The other aspect which are commonly also which is getting breached is also because of the authentication and authorization perspective, the API keys for that matter. So it's a common method of controlling the access, and how do we have a unique keys which is generated for the each user for that matter. Also, from the OAuth 2.0 or the OpenID Connect standards, which is based on the token-based authorization and authentication. Google, for example, which use of the OAuth 2.0, which allows like an authorized applications can only access the data without exposing the user credentials. Because nowadays, if you're getting all your applications either through these third-party apps, because you don't need to create your authentication individual app, you have Google, LinkedIn, whatever the other apps perspective as well. And other is on the finally is on the mitigation techniques, which we take care of it, something like rate limiting or throttling, because these are the techniques which really help us to prevent the abuse and to ensure that the service availability. I think the real life examples like GitHub, which employs in terms of the rate limiting and an IP whitelisting to protect their API by limiting the number of requests for per minute from a single IP which comes. Even that really helped them to protect from the DDoS attack, which happened in 2018. The other example is on the Capital One breach in 2019, very prominent this thing, where the breach was detected and responded actually very swiftly. A misconfigured API actually allowed a non-authorized party to access the sensitive data, but their incident response team was quite efficient enough to ensure that the breach was been identified and the vulnerabilities was patched, and also they were promptly informed the customers as well. But looking at all these examples, I think we see a significance of robust API security measures for that matter.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Kiran. Manoj, I had another question for you. I mean, what I was, again, the other biggest factor which I showed some of our staggering numbers from our quarterly report. Every quarter, one of the things is the amount of bot attacks which are like just, I mean, from our data perspective, almost 80% of our sites have a bot attack once in 3 months. That's a staggering number, right? And of course, it's basically, and with so much of infrastructure available, cloud, cheap, can do whatever you think. From an insurance perspective, which are, okay, so let me kind of give an example. That one of the things we found was that these bots are trying to use, one of the areas where they're trying to attack is how do they affect your business? Meaning you have Google AdWords and you use all of that stuff, and there are these intelligent bots, and nobody's going to disallow the Google bot, which because we want search engine optimization, all of that. But a lot of impersonation also we are seeing in some of these kind of SEO, these kind of which are kind of bots are coming up and using essentially to affect our customers' business. Getting the billing up. Like for example, if our Google AdWords or Google digital marketing business revenue, expensive about $1 million, kind of, use bots to kind of add more and kind of affect that. But are you seeing bots used a lot in terms of your business to affect you in terms of, use it adversely to affect your business or expense or even from competitive reasons? What are the things you are seeing from a bot's perspective?
So from I'll not speak from business point of view, but from security point of view, what we categorized to respond to the request that may be from a person or maybe from bot. Okay. And then, yes, there are solutions available to identify with, layer 2 inspection and all. However, the basic categorization, what we did that if someone is interacting, I will immediately categorize, are they existing customer? Yes or no. And that is through auto authorization with the registered mobile number and the multi-factor authentication.
Yeah.
If we feel that this is our existing customer, then the relevant information will be synced for the communication with the consent of the user. Okay, Okay, for an example, you need to know your policy details. Okay, you get yourself authorized, and the authorization will not on the web but through other different channel MFA, and then give your consent that you are okay to place the consent on the web channel, to know. And then we display or share any information. And if we share any information, the delivery channel maybe through WhatsApp or through some other social media, again, that is encrypted, and with multi-factor authentication, they can decrypt it. And if person who is trying, the person is maybe a human being or bot, is not registered or existing customer, then he will be routed to the information available on public. And this ensures that I'm properly taking care of integrity and confidentiality of data. This is an approach. However, looking into the current trend, and then, we need some more, kind of, filter on application protection to identify and protect, because they can also, impact the availability for rest of the users.
Excellent. Thank you so much, guys. This is a great session. Funny, I think should we open this up? We have such brilliant two CISO practitioners. We should kind of use their knowledge and wisdom with the audience if they want to if they have any particular question to ask them. What do you think?
Yeah, so I had one question for both of them. So which is, what would you want to be or recommend your fellow practitioners to be seen as business enablers? I think Manoj has briefly touched upon this, and if you could elaborate, because that is one theme that we see being discussed in most of the security focused events. And then we can open up for the questions from the audience.
Well, so I don't feel myself, to advise, because nowadays, a lot of information is available on the web. But I can share my experience. What I personally feel, that keep reading, gain knowledge, and not only gain but also implement. Especially to the leaders who are into security, they have to change their mindset from defensive to offensive, bring in agility. I mean, invest wisely, because you must be knowing roadmap and plan of your organization. If I invest in some on-prem solution wherein organization is moving on cloud, so that investment will not be a wise investment. And last but not least, we are not safe, we will not safe, and we were not safe. So it's a matter of a journey from if to when. So only one thing is guaranteed in security, that is breach. It is definitely going to happen. So it's a time to transform from incident response team to incident readiness and response team. And how soon can you detect? How soon can you recover? I mean, don't believe in a strong word, but believe in resilience. And wisely invest on the encryption and key management, because if the data is leaked, anything which is the legal consequences will be on the base of harm, not on the base of breach. So apply right set of anonymization and encryption to ensure the impact of the breach is always minimized. And then there are a lot of things. I mean, I request Kiran to add on that.
I think you fairly covered most of them, but I think just to touch upon, speaking the same business lingo is what is important, because here you need to, as a risk management personnel, you need to do a trade-off between the rewards versus the risk perspective. I think that is the language and articulation which we need to get in. And also, while we as Manoj said, while we have all the strategy in place, but finally it only happens when it is executed. The strategy is executed in a right manner. That's one. And one of the point which I always see, even Ashish, you presented it on this thing, less than 1% as per Gartner have visibility. Having a visibility, because most of the CISOs looks at from the inside out visibility. Having an outside in visibility is also equally important for that matter, because you never know from where the surprises are going to come. Yeah, I think that's it from my side to add on what Manoj said.
Yeah, so finally, again, so as I had covered what we do, so our customers have been kind enough to mention some of the things that we are helping them do. So we have a poll at this point. If you want a demo and free trial of Aptrana app that helps you discover your assets, scan them for vulnerabilities, protect them against DDoS bot, all advanced threats, and finally, a managed services team that acts as an extended SOC team to help you thwart and as the incident readiness and response bit that Manoj touched upon. So the team acts as an extended SOC team to help you when something happens. So if you want to try, we have it. So please launch the poll, and then we'll keep the poll open. And then now we have the stage open for questions. We already have a couple of them. So yeah, first one is Ashish, maybe this is for you. Do you provide support for digital, data protection and digital privacy act?
Absolutely. I mean, we are GDPR compliant, and we have looked at the Indian Data Protection Act. Being in the industry for a long time, I've almost, I've also been involved in some of the discussions. But you have to realize that the Data Protection Act has been passed in the Parliament, but they still have to make the rules and regulations. And until those are put in place, the implementation is a little bit premature. So I think currently the government is in the process of putting the rules and regulations out, and once they are out, only then you can. Currently, high level information is available. This could be the fine that will happen, blah blah blah. But what are the ways those who are collecting data, who are going to, how they're going to use it, how they're going to store it, and stuff like that. I think those are some of the aspects which are still a little bit which are in the works. Having said that, as I said, GDPR was one of the first data protection acts in Europe. We are GDPR compliant as a platform. I don't see any reason why we should not be compliant. But one can be compliant if I know what I have to be compliant against. So I think we'll have to wait a bit. But yeah, absolutely, that's what we are working towards, and we will make sure that we are on top of it.
Yeah. And the second question that we have is, again, I think Manoj has responded. Does a CISO need to be worried for cyber insurance? Kiran, if you want to add to what Manoj has responded.
Well, I think I will only add one analogy out over here. If we take a life insurance, don't we take care of your health, or we just leave it that I have my life insurance and we don't need to take care of health? So that's how it is. So even if you have your cyber insurance, it will still, that's an insurance. That's a final leg. How do you recover back and how you compensate back? But that is really not going to help from a reputation, regulatory aspects perspective. So from a customer branding perspective, so I think it is very important. Still, you need to take care of your organizational cybersecurity health and maturity, for that matter. That is just there to support you in case of any financial. But there are, other than financial, also there are a lot many bigger and larger impact which an organization undergo.
Yeah. Another question. Again. So on quantum computing security, do you have any comments? I think Manoj has briefly responded, but if you want to add anything, Manoj and Kiran.
I think this is quantum computing is a reality. So now it is far more important that from a data protection perspective, because while whatever the data, even if it is encrypted, it is unusable right now as we speak. But in some point of time, that is also going to get decrypted with this quantum computing. So I think data protection continues. The best practices needs to get continued. It is a matter of worry, may not be right now as we speak, but in some point of time, as it goes public, we really have to. The current data will definitely come out, because all these breaches, if you see, they are not immediately after the breach has occurred. You will see a time gap of couple of months as well. This thing. So maybe the organization needs to be vigilant about even the breaches today, and if they are not announced, we really need to ensure that the data is protected.
Yeah, Manoj, do you want to add anything to it?
Well, rightly, as said by Kiran, that the most risky area is security of the data. So now new term is that we must go with quantum safe encryption to ensure that the security of data throughout the life cycle is maintained. And we also follow best practices of, keeping data. I mean, we used to have a lot of data with us, which is, not required to be stored. And in some cases, public move from one cloud to another, and due to cost, they leave data, on the S3 bucket. Further to that, they further get moved on glaciers and all. Those are being misutilized by the hackers. And then that is one of the reason why there is a gap of few months. Because normally if one is moving from one to another, they keep 3 months subscription. And then further, there are, less security controls on data. So these things should be taken care of. And if anyone is engaging in one vendor, then the mandatory clauses must be, incorporated in service agreement. Like if there is a change within the vendor organization's infrastructure, there has to be consent from us. If they are moving from one place to another, they must destroy the data which was kept previously on some other infrastructure. And if we move out of the service contract, they ensure that the data of the organization is destroyed. They should not keep the data with them until it is, legal or regulatory requirements. So these some of the, administrative controls we must follow.
Yeah, I think we are slightly over time. So last two questions, and then I think.
Funny, I think Kiran has a hard stop. He has. So maybe we should take the questions, and maybe we can send it to Manoj and Kiran, get their feedback, and send a response back to the viewers. I'm sorry about putting this, but I know Kiran has a hard stop at 5. So I know these two are smart and bright individuals. Firstly, thank you so much, Kiran and Manoj, for taking time out and and being a part of this event. We really appreciate it. I'm sure the audience has really gained from the experience and knowledge you guys have shared with them. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. My pleasure to be part of this panel. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ashish. And, there are a lot of forums to collaborate hackers. So thanks for, arranging some collaboration platform for security professionals.
We'll do it more often. I mean, I think that's one of the themes we are taking from here. We're kind of doing it vertical wise, and but this I'm glad this initiative will be helpful.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for hosting us.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for attending.
Thanks.
Really appreciate it.